And then I'm halfway down, and it just says, your destination is on your right. And then, like, clicks out. And I look to my right, and there's just trees. I'm on a highway. And there's, like, nothing. There's no buildings.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I'm, like, panicking now. I pull over into some parking lot, and I open up the email again that says, like, 450 March Road. And for some reason, when I had clicked it and opened it to Google Maps, it went to 250 March Road. I was like, oh, okay, so it just opened up wrong. I'll just punch it in manually, and it'll tell me which way to go. I assumed the same way where it thought 250 was, just a little further. Mm-hmm. And I punch it in, and it says, from your current location, 49 minutes to get to 450 March Road, Canada, Ontario. Oh, and I'm just freaking out, and I look at the map, and it's taking me all over the place. Like, there's just these blue dots, like, going across this map. I have to keep zooming out to even see it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So now I'm panicking because I don't have 49 minutes. I only have like half an hour to get to my exam. And I pull out, and I'm just like, well, I just got to go. And I pull out onto the road the way it's telling me to go, right in front of somebody. I just didn't even look. There's just a car there. He honks at me like crazy. I'm like, sorry, thanks for not killing me. And I just accelerate, and then right as I'm getting to the lights, it's like, you want to turn left here. I'm like, crazy left down the street. The lady on the bike just like laughs at me next to it. She's like, what the hell is he doing? And then it turns out it was just a little up the street. And the reason the route looked so long is it was taking me down all these weird side streets because that was marginally faster. And every time I would drive for 20 to 30 seconds, it would shave 9 to 10 minutes off my estimated time. It's like, you're now 32 minutes away. You're now 25 minutes. I was like, what the hell was that? You scared the crap out of me. I almost killed me and some other driver because I was in such a crazy panic. And it turns out, yeah, it was just over there.
GPS,
and
man.
I have no explanation why it said 49 minutes. I thought maybe that was like from home, from where my parents live, but that's not even true. That still would have been an overestimate.
It's like 49 minutes like walking, and you like didn't...
Walking from here, that wouldn't have been true either. It would have been like 15 minutes walking.
Oh, gosh.
So, anyways, that's how I almost died, but you'll be happy to know that I did not, and I passed my exam.
Yay! Oh, man. I guess the truth is just never trust your GPS. Not never. Maybe not.
It always jerks me around. Yeah. Google Maps hates me.
Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're just regular dudes drinking some irregular beers, talking about Magic the Gathering arena, and casual play in particular, as always.
Yes, as always, casual play. Today we have a very special episode. We are bringing back our Drunken Vorthos episode, whatever. And this one's for Strixhaven, which is very exciting. But first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, and rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
I got an absolute Toronto classic here. This is from Bellwoods Brewery, and it's Roman Candle. It's kind of their flagship IPA, so they always have, crazy beers rotating in and out of the lineup, but I feel like this one's a mainstay. Mm-hmm. You can always pick up Roman Candle. So that's what I brought today. What did you bring?
I brought, this is Henderson's Best. It is their flagship beer, essentially. Which is an amber ale. It's 5.5%. And finally getting around to rating these beers. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we always look for these crazy exotic ones and stuff. And then we got to realize, like, not everyone is as used to the Toronto beer scene as we are and looks at these beers and it's just like, whatever.
Yeah. So
had that before.
Yeah. And we just, always want to rate every beer we possibly can. So we're getting around to these ones today. So excited for that. In Magic news, as usual, as soon as we post an episode, there's a big announcement that happens.
While people were listening to me talk about how this deck's going to get banned last week.
There was a ban announcement.
Actually, probably before they listened.
It was the day before. So Thassa's Oracle is now banned in Historic, effectively, I guess, tuning down instead of just destroying the Tainted Pact deck.
That's the idea.
Yes. So, Jeff, how do you feel about this ban?
I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I think the options Wizards had at their disposal was ban Tainted Pact or ban Thassa's Oracle and ban Tainted Pact. I think this was one of the worst things to do for a few reasons. The first is that the deck is still a thing, and with Jace just replacing Thassa's Oracle, right? And it's going to play a little differently, but I still actually think it's very likely to just be a tier 1 deck that might be too strong. And the other big problem is that, like, Tainted Pact is a card that doesn't even work on Arena.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't... Why not just get rid of the thing that is the problem? I get it's, like, the flashy new, mythic from your Strixhaven special...
thing, mystical archive, whatever.
But, like, you already banned a bunch of those. Like, just ban this one, too, It doesn't make much sense to me. I did hear that they've been working on implementing a fix to Tainted Pact so that it gives you a little bit of time on every card you make a decision on. So that's honestly the only explanation I have, is that they didn't want to tell their developers that they wasted time fixing that card.
So the new card is really cool, except for there's a problem with it. Spend all your time trying to fix it, take forever, and then we're going to ban it before we even announce that it's fixed.
Yeah, I think they just didn't have the audacity to do that.
That makes a lot more sense to me. I think I like that idea, because I agree with you. Not that I'm thinking Thassa's Oracle should stay in Historic or anything. I don't think that card is... I mean, I think it's very ban-worthy. It has all the same kinds of things. The decks that play with it are very unfair for the most part. They're just kind of trying to do the one thing, and Tainted Pact is a really easy way to do that. It's the reason they were saying that is that Thassa's Oracle was a problem in other formats as well and had to get banned from those. So they were just expecting it to get worse, and this is just a way to kind of nerf the Tainted Pact deck without getting rid of it completely. Sure. But I still think that Tainted Pact was probably the one that should have gone. But I'm not really that sad to see Thassa's Oracle go. So
it just seems like a no-brainer to ban Tainted Pact to me, because it's a card that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. It's not a fun card.
It really does one thing.
It doesn't do anything. All it does is this thing, where it's a Demonic Tutor / mill your whole deck, or it does nothing. It's not a card people are going to play in earnest ever.
No.
And so, there's no downside, really, to banning it. Other than you don't want to give people mythic rare wild cards.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's the... people like to talk about that, whether they don't want to give you wild cards or something.
I was mostly joking.
Yeah, some people say that, though, and I don't think that that's necessarily what they're thinking. I'm probably on the side of they're trying to work for a fix and don't want to ban it before they fix it in Arena and then later decide to do it, maybe.
Yeah. But, I mean, you're right about Thassa's Oracle, and I guess they're right because they said it. Mm-hmm. And, I think it was even... a dozen or maybe more episodes ago that we were saying, I can't believe there's not a Thassa's Oracle deck in Historic.
Yeah.
I guess, and then I think we're just you just need the right enabler and this will be a thing.
And that was the thing. So.
And anytime that happens in the future, they have to wonder, is there going to be a broken Thassa's Oracle combo deck? So just getting rid of it for that reason is fine. But I think if that's your reasoning, you should ban both. That's why I think you either ban Tainted Pact or you ban both.
Exactly.
We'll see. I mean, they'll just ban Tainted Pact in a few months or whatever.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see if the Tainted Pact deck ends up coming to the championship, if people are still wanting to play it with Jace as the win con. So, we'll have to see. That is next weekend. So
people are saying it's like the Hogak thing. It's a modern thing, but quickly they didn't want to ban the new card Hogak, so they banned Bridge from Below, which was the main enabler for that deck.
Yeah.
And then the deck actually got better because it turns out people were just assuming they always had to play Bridge from Below and not really considering other options. And once they were forced to consider other options, they got a much more consistent and solid deck, and it just got more dominant.
Hey, that could be a thing. That's funny. That's great.
So, I don't think that'll happen here. This definitely is going to hurt the deck and not make it better, but, stranger things have happened. People just get more creative when they're forced to be, and the deck could get better because the deck was still pretty new when Thassa's Oracle got banned, and they're just going to tune it with Jace.
Yeah, exactly. Also, so today we are recording on Thursday. So officially, the Historic Anthology number 5 are out on Arena. If you want to hear our thoughts about that, listen to the last episode. And what else was I saying? Oh, Twitter tweets this week. Jeff, guess what?
What?
The Pro Tour is back.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It's
What
so
about like
exciting.
world championships and nationals and
Yeah, we got nationals. And,
all of that's back?
Yep, we have nationals. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, this is for Flesh and Blood.
Oh, different card game?
Different card game.
Oh, that's a bummer.
That is a bummer.
Man, that tournament structure sounds awesome though. I
Yeah.
wish there was something like that for Magic.
That'd be really cool if there was something for Magic. So weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, hilarious news. Magic decides to destroy its competitive kind of, they kind of killed competitive Magic a little bit. Or at least as far as the pro level. And then Flesh and Blood decides to name their big tournament the Pro Tour.
Like a week or two later.
And, it's so funny. So Gregor Kowalski was really excited about it, and he ends up like posting a bunch of pictures on Twitter.
Former Magic Pro.
Yeah, former Magic Pro. You might have seen him. He came in second in the Kaldheim Championship. So he was like posting pictures with some Flesh and Blood cards, being like, "I always told myself I was going to win a PT, and now I'm going to." Oh God, it's funny. It's just so funny. Oh well. Anyway, let's get right into the episode. I think that sounds like a good thing to do. First of all, Drunken Vorthos. Hey, what is this? What are we doing?
Well, for those who don't know, Vorthos. So Magic players, there's all these archetypal Magic players that are named. Spike means somebody who's competitive. So I guess Spike is dead.
Spike. They killed Spike.
Yeah,
Maybe.
killed Spike. And there's Timmy and Johnny, and I don't actually know what all of them mean, but I do know that Vorthos means somebody who's really into the story.
Yes. So basically what we're going to do is that we are talking about the story of Strixhaven while, drinking some beers. This is the episode for you if you did not listen to or read any of the story, you don't know anything about it. We're going to tell you everything we know about it. Yeah, well, whatever, kind of drunk.
Well, right. Having a good time.
Yeah, there you go. Having a good time. That's a good way.
Then you don't have to read it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun when we did this for Kaldheim, because actually knowing the story is kind of cool when some of the cards show up. You're like, oh yeah, I get this now. This is a little bit more,
Yeah, it's kind of the thing that like a lot of tournament players seem to not care about in the slightest, and casual players care about a ton. Specifically, cosplayers care about it a lot, because obviously they're playing characters. And I have been in and out of it for a little bit, and I really enjoy reading these stories and learning more about it and seeing how the story is not always the same as what's on the card, which you would think was kind of telling the story, but sometimes there's some discrepancies. Yeah.
Yeah, but stick around if you want to learn a little more about Strixhaven.
Exactly. Yeah, so basically Strixhaven is a school of mages. Everyone kind of knows that. There are 5 different colleges. They all surround the biblioplex, which is the library in the center. And there are torches that go from each of the colleges. And if you follow the torches, they will bring you to the biblioplex, which is like the greatest library in the multiverse.
Yeah. I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly. That's what they say.
I don't know if anyone's traveled to every library on the multiverse and can justify this claim, but...
maybe Tamio?
They've self-proclaimed best library in the multiverse.
Yeah, exactly. So, basically, let's just go into it. Let's go. All right.
Yeah, I mean, the only other backstory I'll mention a little bit is that this school is on a bigger plane called Arcavios. So it is not a whole plane into itself. It is just one area on that plane.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So you can leave Strixhaven campus and go out into Arcavios and be among the village. There's a village there that
people
features in the story.
Things. So basically there are 5...
And some bad dudes.
Yeah. There are like 5 chapters, I guess, or episodes they call them, which is fairly normal for now. They've been doing kind of like 5 episode story bits. This is the 3rd time.
Kaldheim was the same.
Kaldheim was the same, and so was Zendikar, I believe. And then before that, they used to do books, which they're moving away from, which I think is probably a good idea.
They were not well received.
No, they were not. Anyway, so the first episode is called Classes in Session. And, well, sure.
They all have cheesy titles like that.
It is. It kind of starts with Liliana, or Professor Onyx, as she's known at Strixhaven. And she's in the library, and there's like, she's looking for books. And then there's like this purple mage that we now know as the Auric. They're trying to steal this book, this, I don't know, forbidden book. And she's like, oh shit, maybe I should warn people about these Auric folks.
Yeah, she has a bit of a clash with this infiltrator, and then the infiltrator vanishes.
Yeah. Though this is one of the, I'm going to stop us real quick. It's really early.
It's early for that, yeah.
But it's one of these weird things where like, okay, so basically from this instance, we kind of realize that the Auric are trying to steal spells from the library so they can practice magic elsewhere. Why would the library have like a forbidden section or forbidden magic that none of the kids are supposed to use? Like,
I don't know, Harry Potter had it.
I know. Why did they have that? Why is there a restricted section where, oh, these are the books for no one? Like, we keep them, but no one's supposed to read them.
We better keep some spells for evil folk.
Just in case. But they're forbidden on school grounds and by anyone who's a student, or you'll get expelled. But we keep the books kind of open and just out there.
It's not that hard to access them.
It's really not. As we continue to see, there are just a lot of times people can find forbidden magic, and they're just like, yeah, it was just right there.
Yeah. Ooh,
I don't know. Anyway, my first gripe is, what?
I guess it's for the professors. They need to know that stuff.
Maybe they can't they have their like own collection and their own
just have
area?
A professor's lounge or whatever.
All the deans can be like, hey, well, if you're a dean, you can read these books, but if you're not a dean, you can't. That seems like really simple. Anyway, Liliana's like, oh, these people seem bad. And she goes to tell the other deans, and they don't really give a shit.
Oh, they brush her off hard.
They're like, no way.
There's like a couple of kids fighting outside, randomly, having a duel, as they say. And they're like, see? Who could possibly defeat us? The kids should protect themselves.
Just ridiculous. So that was very strange. Anyway, we go over to Kaldheim, which I had to look this up. I didn't know where this was. This is the Battle Bond plane. So if you played Battle Bond,
the two-headed... That explains why I've never heard of it.
Yes, because they don't even really talk about it on Battle Bond at all. You just know, oh, Battle Bond is just a place. If you don't know what that is...
Isn't that where Will and Rowan were introduced, was Battle Bond?
It was where they were introduced. But in the story, that's like the second place they've been.
You're supposed to assume that they left Eldraine, went to Kaldheim, did whatever happened in Battle Bond happened.
Yeah.
And then they come here.
Exactly. So basically they get a letter of acceptance, which is our first story spotlight card.
Story spotlight.
Basically, if you've seen on the cards, there is a thing that says story spotlight at the bottom of some of them. I think there's like 15.
Right above the artist.
Yeah. And that's supposed to depict the story specifically. So this is our first one. Makes sense. It's just a letter telling them they're going. Though, interesting, it seems like Kasmina is the one who came to Kaldheim to be like, hey, here's your letter. You're cool. Come to the school with me.
Yeah, I mean, do they even actually, like... They kind of mentioned the letter in passing, that it's shaped like an owl.
Yeah, and that's
about it.
That's about it. Will seems super excited and wants to make sure he packs everything. And Rowan is just like, let's just fucking go.
Yeah, Will's kind of like your, stereotypical nerd. Always wants to go to the library and read books.
Yeah.
He's a bit introverted.
Okay, so we have Bookworm in the set. Why isn't it just a picture of Will? Will should be the bookworm, because all he ever talks about is wanting to be in the library.
Literally always. Yeah, I mean, it opens with him trying to figure out which book to bring.
Yeah, exactly. And then, he finds out that there's an entire library full of every book.
For some reason, he can only bring one, by the way.
Yeah, or something. Like a tattered old book.
He hasn't learned of a backpack yet. He had to carry it under his arm, and therefore could only bring one.
So weird. Yeah, so they end up planeswalking together, and we do see that... they've talked about this in the past, but Will and Rowan share a spark between the two of them because they're twins. Mm-hmm. So when they planeswalk, they have to go together. So basically, Rowan's like, it's time to leave. Rowan planeswalks away, and Will just gets dragged along with her.
Exactly. They meet Kasmina, who basically walks them to Strixhaven campus.
Yeah, this is also when we find out that Kasmina can, see through her owls.
Yeah, she has a bunch of owls flying around, and so a lot of the story is kind of told through her spying on somebody. Yeah. Or, not a lot, some of it.
Yeah, but this is the first time we see owls because, like, we meet Casmina in, like, War of the Spark, right? And she can make a bunch of, like, students, I guess, or wizards. She makes little wizards.
She makes wizards. Yeah.
But in this one, it's all about owls. And, like, she just watches whatever
She's
she
a
wants.
crazy owl lady, for sure.
Which is pretty sweet, actually. Though it is funny that it's just not, like, it's shown on her card as far as we see. There are pictures of owls.
There are owls in the art. Come on, man.
She makes fractals, though. She doesn't make owls. So I was just surprised that she was such an owl lady. But I'm into it. I like it.
So she walks them to campus and then says, "See ya."
Yeah.
I think she tells them to go. She tells them to go find someone named Mavinda, and that is Mavinda's role in the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mavinda is the guidance counselor and a really awesome magic card, by the way. Don't forget that part.
Yeah. Yeah. But they don't actually see him, as far as I can.
No, they do not go find Mavinda at all.
He doesn't feature again.
Yeah, but during that moment, the reason we're talking about it so long is because it's shown in Mentor's Guidance, which is a story spotlight card. Okay, so 2 kind of boring spotlights right off the bat. Sick.
Yeah.
Got it. But then there's a fight that breaks out.
Right. So they immediately come across a duel. Mm-hmm. And it's the Prismari versus the Silver Quill. And Rowan basically just runs in and starts helping the Prismari.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I'm going to help them. Will and Rowan fight together. Their magic doesn't seem to be working together as it usually does, which apparently... So Rowan's like she's like a electric person.
Yeah, she shocks people.
Yeah, she's like a Pikachu. And then Will is like a ice man from X-Men. So
yeah. Couldn't think of an ice Pokemon.
I don't know. Are there ice Pokemon? I don't know.
I feel like there's ice moves at least.
Probably. I know there's water ones. Anyway.
For sure, there's got to be an ice.
So they do like ice electric stuff. But it doesn't happen to be working that well. And Will's really worried about it. And then Rowan's like, that's fine. I'm good enough by myself.
Yeah. So I guess normally they are working together, but this time, like, she melts Will's ice before it hits the guy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With her electricity.
So that's the beginning of, they're having problems, which will come up several times.
A lot.
Yeah. So this happens to be the duel that the deans see when Lilian is talking to them about the Auric. And they just, like, do some magic and push the students away and be like, bah, let's just dispel this.
I love how the dean is like, look at this power of our students, and then like waves a hand and stops it all and shoves them apart. Like, nobody could defeat that, and then easily defeats it with a wave of her arm.
It's like, you should be worried about this because there are people who hate you, and you know this, and you're laughing at them, and like they come up in the story. In the side stories, they come up a lot, and it seems like they are dangerous.
Yeah, they're just like kidnapping people and stuff.
Yeah, but in like the main story, everyone just kind of doesn't, at least in the school, it seems like they're a laughing stock.
Right.
However, we do meet Luca on the plane. Luca from Ikoria I think he randomly planeswalks at the end of Ikoria, which is a normal thing that happens. And just like, that's when he finds out he's a planeswalker, I guess. And he just shows up on Arcadius.
Okay. I was going to ask because I didn't read or like I don't know anything about what happened in Ikoria.
Yeah, so I think
I only vaguely know who Luca is. I know he has like a thing with animals.
Yeah. But he's kind of like a dick. He's not a great guy.
I got that from this story.
Yeah, but it's not really shown on any of the cards, right? You can look at the cards.
No, I didn't know that at all. I was surprised when.
Yeah.
Well, no spoilers, of course.
Yeah,
get there.
We'll get there. But as far as his past, if you know a little bit about the Ikoria story, he's kind of a dick, and he like doesn't really care that much about the animals that he's bonding with. He just uses them to his benefit. So it's not like this cute, it's me and my little fox buddy.
I love animals.
Yeah, well, in this one, it feels a little bit more like that. In the last one, I guess, he just like, this one's really strong. And then he like fights with it and he's like, this one's not as strong as I thought. I should ditch this one and get a better one, kind of.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of guy he is.
It's the Pokemon trainer they told you never to be.
Yeah. Okay, so Luca is the Pokemon trainer, I guess, of this. That definitely makes sense.
So he just appears here, and he's in some random village in Arcavios, and he tries to get some food, but the villagers being unable to recognize him, and he's wearing weird attire, like he looks nothing like anyone from around there. They assume that he's part of the Auric, these group of mages that has everyone except the deans of Strixhaven scared. And so they decide to basically teach him a lesson, try to whoop his ass.
We don't take kindly to your types.
Exactly.
That's basically what they said.
And it doesn't go particularly well for them. They get in a few shots.
Yeah.
But then, like local bears and stuff come over and kill them.
Luca is a combination between like a Pokemon master and like Aquaman, but like on land, where he's in trouble and then he just kind of like puts out a call to all the creatures and they come and fight for him.
Summons all the fish.
That's basically what happens. It's like,
that's what he did, yeah.
There's a bear that just comes in and like
a wolf came in.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. I also want to point out, he looks nothing like an Auric. Nothing. No. He's not wearing a mask. It's not black armor. He's not purple. He's like wearing a red and brown coat. You can see his face. It's like, how are you? Have you seen an Auric before? I don't think they have. They must not have.
That's like a common trope in fantasy, though. They make like everyone, because there's so many sects and like different sections. They make everyone of each alignment wear the same shit, but then people are constantly mistaken for being part of that when they're not wearing anything close to the same. It's so that we, as like the reader or viewer, know that he's not a part of that, because everyone who's a part of that wears a metal mask and
so
black armor.
I guess so. Either it's they've heard about the Auric and they don't know what they look like.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to think about it.
That's kind of it. Or they're just really dumb. Except for all of them went to Strixhaven because they all know magic. Like everyone on Arcavios is like, oh, I'm a mage. I used to be doing this stuff. Here's some ink.
Yeah, they're just like farming without actually, grabbing the hoe themselves or whatever.
So it is funny that it's like, okay, well, there's a bunch of people on Arcavios that go to Strixhaven, learn some stuff, and then just go back to farming again. No, you can go to the Biblioplex. It will teach you about the spells of all over the multiverse. You could do all this stuff. I'm going to be a farmer.
That happens in real life, man. Lots of people get degrees and then just do whatever
That is true. That is true. Anyway, so because no one will let Luca sleep anywhere or eat any food, he kind of wanders out into like the desert. And then he eventually is found by Extus, which is the leader of the Auric. And then they pull him into... He basically just follows them. It's like they kidnap.
So that's what I was going to ask, if we were going to do this like chapter by chapter, because in chapter 2 we find out more about what happened between.
Yeah, so I guess maybe because like I did realize that. Yeah. So anyway, the reason we know that Extus has taken Luca or whatever is because of the owl eyes that Casmina's watching and sees. Oh, there's this guy, and he's going with the Auric. Are they?
Yeah,
kidnapping.
I'm the one who jumped the gun a bit because the Luca in the Village is chapter 2.
So let's just go to chapter 2. So chapter 2 is called Lessons. Great, good episode titles, by the way. On theme with the school. I got it. I understand. Anyway, so it like
a bit on the nose for me, but
yeah. Is this when they jump back in time? Yeah. So they go back in time,
right?
And Luca's like, that's when we find out that he's with the villagers and whatever, and he wanders out into like, I guess the desert. I didn't really know, just the landscape.
They talked about him being like thirsty and hungry.
Yeah, so
it's natural to like picture a rocky desert.
Yeah, it was like a rocky desert, and so he like sits down and is like really tired, and then he sees this fox that's trapped under some rocks, and he saves the fox, and then the fox is like, oh, cool, and then he's like, all right. And then he lays down like, I'm going to die now because I can't eat anything and I'm tired. And he passes out. He just passes
Takes
out.
a little nap.
He just takes a little nap.
Because I guess he ran away from the villagers after sicking some like feral animals on them.
Yeah.
And just wandered. And then when he wakes up, I guess the fox had brought him some grapes.
Yeah, it was like some grapes and some nuts. And then the fox was just kind of looking at him with like the head tilt. And he's like, you're cool, fox. I like you. And so then he like decides that
Mind control.
yeah, mind control. So he puts out his bonders, whatever, and then it becomes his first Pokemon on this plane.
Yeah.
Or his number one Pokemon, I guess. So they're
Vulpix, I guess.
yeah, that's his buddy Vulpix. I like that. Mila the Vulpix. Also, there's some random shit where like Liliana wants to go. So she survived War of the Spark because Gideon gave up his life for her while Bolas was going to kill her. And now she feels bad about it and wants to bring Gideon back to life. So that is why Liliana is on Strixhaven, is because she's trying to learn how to bring Gideon back to life. Mm-hmm. And I'm just seeing red flags all over the place. This is a terrible idea.
First of all, didn't she already learn this lesson with her brother?
That's what I thought. So...
it was a few hundred years ago, I guess. Maybe she's gotten a little better now, but
I don't know. Yeah, so apparently Liliana's like super old. She's like 200 years old or something.
I think even old. I think that's like Jace, and Liliana's like way older than that.
Yeah, because it was like her pact with the demons and stuff made her like super young, and like she's just stayed young.
Yeah,
forever.
Planeswalkers are old too, I think. It's just the thing.
Anyway, that's the reason she's here. Also, earlier, when she's talking about I'm Professor Onyx or whatever to everybody, she's really upset that nobody recognized her because she used to be a student there.
Like, well, you're 1,000 years old, Liliana.
Yeah. It's because she was a student, I guess, a really long time ago. Back like before Dominaria times, or right after Dominaria. She goes to Strixhaven, learns how to be a mage, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, earlier in her story, she like tries to save her brother from this illness, and she ends up killing him instead.
Right, because she was a healer.
Yeah.
And there is something about her learning healing magic or whatever. So
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, she can't save her brother, and that's what drives her to necromancy.
Yeah, because she wants to like fix the thing that she did wrong.
And then at some point, she goes to Strixhaven and learns something.
I guess. And then.
But then now she's trying to do the same thing. She's trying to bring back
Gideon.
So who does she go to for advice?
She goes to the freaking dragon. She goes to Belladros. I want to say Belladros Lestrange is what it sounds like because it feels like it's Harry Potter. But
There'd be a lot of Harry Potter and apparently Pokemon jokes.
Yeah, I guess. I didn't think the Pokemon was going to come out, but it just did. Anyway, so she goes to like Belladros and it's like, hey, can you help me with this thing? And Belladros is like, fuck no. I'm not doing that.
Belladros is like, no, go away.
So
and that, my friends, is the role the Elder Dragons play in this story.
There's one other thing that they do in this story, but it's just like, okay, why did we spend time going to this dragon? It was I thought that it was gonna be cool. It was so long and it was so.
Belladros is just like, no, I can't.
No.
And Liliana's like, ah, damn.
And then just Liliana leaves, and not only that, Liliana was like. She missed all the beginning of school, like missed days, like
missed
weeks of class, and was like, "Oh, I guess people will be wondering where I am." The new professor, that's just randomly Professor Onyx, is just not showing up for any of her classes because she's trying to find this dragon. That was so ridiculous.
I don't know. I'd just assume she was hungover. That's what always happened. My props didn't show up.
It was just so weird. It was like, what? Why?
Why is this part of the story?
Why is this part of the story?
Like, and then she gets back and she's like, I guess I can't bring Gideon back.
Yeah, she like looks in the mirror for a second and like there's the card that's not a story spotlight.
Wait, that's not a story spotlight.
It's not a story spotlight, but you know the card, it's rare. It's like the black rare lesson, and she's like looking in the mirror and it's like her remembering Gideon dying and her being like, well, I guess I'm never gonna bring Gideon back. And then it's just over. And then she just stops caring about it.
I think Gideon would be proud of what I did.
Yeah,
like,
or
what?
something. Okay. Just like, what? Also,
anyway, that's Liliana.
Yeah, so not only that, apparently she also like walked and talked to the Archaics, which that was like the only time they talked about the Archaics.
Oh yeah, they had to mention them, so they kind of lopped that in.
Yeah, because they never show up ever again, and they really seem just kind of random. It's just like these big armed creatures that also live in Arcavios and don't really give a shit about other things. I don't know.
Yeah, it just kind of mentions she went to see them, and that's it. They had nothing. They told her about something, and she went there, and it was not there.
Yeah. After that, then Luca is around again.
That was Liliana's part. Back to Luca.
Back to Luca.
After he's caught his first Pokemon.
Yeah, so then they go to another village, and then apparently he gets in a fight with Dragon's Guard Elite.
Right.
All I think about.
Well, there's like a Dragon's Guard, which are the people who protect Arcavius against the Auric. They're like the police of Arcavius, I guess. And a Dragon's Guard is kind of easily defeating like 4 Aurics at once.
Yeah.
Until Luca steps in and kind of fucks everything up.
Because he's like, hey, if someone thought I was an Auric, they're probably pretty cool. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I didn't totally follow his reasoning.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, don't. Because he has like an anti-establishment thing going on.
These must have been the Dragon's Guard I heard so much about.
Yeah.
Because the villagers who tried to beat him up said they couldn't call the Dragon's Guard on him because their village was too small to be under Dragon's Guard support or something.
So he's like, oh.
This must be the famous Dragon's Guard.
Fuck this person. Let's kill them. And he just like goes ham and just like starts attacking this Dragon's Guard person.
Yeah, he like gets some wolves to come fuck up the Dragon's Guard. The Dragon's Guard's kind of kicking his ass, and then Mila saves the day for him.
And then after that, then it kind of blends into the moment where he gets like kidnapped, I guess, by Extus.
Yeah, he starts following those 4 Auric that left the fight, and then they knew he was following him, and Extus was like, let him come.
Yeah. This is also a good time to mention the Auric are just people that just failed out of school.
Flunked out.
They just
or got like
mad and left.
Expelled.
Or just never got accepted. So it's a bunch of people that just are mad at Strixhaven because they aren't there.
I was hoping it was like deeper than that. Like they were upset with Strixhaven's rules of not being able to study the dark magic.
It was
really just like, I just failed the exam.
It's kind of like that.
They're like my second, they were my safety school.
Yeah. So
I decided to join Extus and his Auric.
And basically I think Extus used to go to the school and really wanted to be the Oracle, which is some really high, important person at the school. And all the deans were like, well, no. And he was like, fuck you guys. Fuck all of you. Yeah. I want to be an Oracle. And then basically now they're in a cave and they just have to steal books from the library and try to learn spells, but they're failing over and over and over again. And I guess this is like Plum the Forbidden, where like, hey.
Because that's a story spotlight card, I guess. Is this what it's... Because I love this card and it's so disappointing that this is what it is.
It's just like, oh, hey, guys, we found the book we were looking for. Let's plumb the forbiddenness of it. I don't know it. It was basically he's trying to do something and he can't seem to make it work, right? And apparently Luca can help him with the spell, I guess. That's what
we know what he wants Luca for, right? Like that's not. So that's in chapter 3.
Yeah, we will figure out what he needs Luca for, but he's still.
Yeah. So basically, the reason he told Luca to come, and then he says, I'll help you with something if you help me with something. And Luca's like, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Random creepy guy in a cave that I just met with a bunch of sacrificed acolytes around him.
Yeah. Because a classic, bad guy thing. Hey, person, come over here. I'm going to kill you for some blood ritual real quick. Oh, it failed. Whoops. Well, that's another person gone.
Anyways, let me stand in the middle of their bodies while I recruit this new guy.
Yeah. So that's basically what happens in the first 2 chapters. But I really need to grab another beer to finish the rest of this story out.
Yeah. They're only going to be more interjections.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Alrighty. Give me that Roman candle.
Yeah. Henderson's best. Love me a nice amber.
Always nice. Always good, always amber. Oh, well. Okay.
Have you ever considered a job in marketing?
No, because I know that I'm probably not good at that. Okay. This is back to the story. Episode number 3. Extracurriculars.
Well, here's the thing, Zach. Like, that first part was pretty good. Like, I was loving the story.
Okay.
There's like bears and wolves fighting random villagers, and then a fox and dragon people. But I was thinking, like, this is a university story, and there's not enough students bitching.
Oh, yes.
Can we get some? Is that coming, or can we get some of that now?
That's
or?
all the rest of this is just students bitching.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So I don't know if this is actually this point in the story, or it was earlier when Will and Rowan saw the duel break out. But at some point, there's the story spotlight card, Explosive Welcome, which is essentially Will and Rowan just, I don't know, are there. And I think the text on the story spotlight card is like, they always knew that Prismari was for them or something.
Rowan and Will were a natural fit in Prismari College, the school of outrageous elemental arts.
Yeah. Okay, so there is never a moment where they decide they're going to be in Prismari besides helping that Prismari student against the Silver Quill. They just must have
just like understood.
They must have just like looked at their clothes and were like, "Well, I'm red and you're blue, so yeah, so we should be Prismari." I also was kind of confused because first years, so they're first year students. Right. I thought all first year students had to wear gray uniforms until they chose their school. And apparently, Will and Rowan walked onto campus and said, "That's my school, done."
Well, they're special. They're Kenriths.
Yeah. Though nobody knows them as Kenriths because nobody seems to really know that there are other planes besides them. And they try to keep that a secret, kind of. But you're at school and you're supposed to teach things? I don't know. It's strange. Anyway, so there's a lot of like, oh, Will and Rowan are fighting about something. Will's mad that
Rowan's not taking her studies seriously enough.
Yeah, and Will has no friends and is boring.
He has a friend.
He has a friend because he's in the library all the time with Quint, who is also in the library all the time. And that's it. Rowan has some pretty bitchin' Witherbloom friends. We don't really know how
she chose well. Yeah.
They met, but she has these cool Witherbloom friends. It's like Plink and Avernine or something like that.
Yeah. I remember I kept thinking it was like an aubergine.
Yeah.
You know?
Something
it was like, your friend's an eggplant? What's going on?
Something like that. It is interesting. Sometimes they like, there are a couple times in the story where they're saying two names, and the first one's really simple, and the second one's more complicated. And I'm like, oh, this is okay. Anyway, so these are her friends.
I just wanted there to be like a John at some point.
Yeah, so anyway.
Plint, Rowan, Aubergine, and John.
And John, he's there too. I guess we have Will. Will is the most.
Yeah, that's true. Will is that guy.
Just that guy. But anyway, so basically, Rowan wants to spend a lot of time with her Witherbloom friends, and they seem to be having a good time. Like, they're going around. The thing that's ridiculous about this, I can't even go through all the different fights that they have. There's like... They're fighting about something, and then Will says, "Oh, don't be so much like Mom," or something, and then
she gets real pissed at that.
Really mad. So apparently their birth mother sucks.
I don't like her.
They don't like her very much, or at least Rowan doesn't want to be compared to her for whatever reason, because now their mom is what's her name, the mono white creature from Eldraine, whatever. They're
giant killer.
Yes, giant killer. Anyway, basically, they just have a bunch of random stories.
Oh, the queen lady.
Yeah, the queen.
Gains life when you attack.
Exactly. That's the mom. Now, that's like their stepmom. Anyway, so Will's in the library and Quint is talking about something about a book or whatever, and then they realize, oh, and there's like a foreshadowing. Well, there's always a spell. There's always one spell that can help you. There's always a spell. All right. So then we go to a Mage Tower match.
And it's Prismari against Silverquill again, right?
That is correct. Apparently that's
supposed to have some sort of like rivalry, or...
Yeah, it seems like it. I think everyone has a rivalry with Silverquill, so...
Is it kind of like how like Gryffindor and Slytherin play against each other and none of the other schools really matter?
Yes. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. We do know about Witherbloom, and we never talk about Quandrix at all in the entire story.
They get mentioned.
No, not even. I think they might mention the deans at some point, but they also...
Oh, yeah, it's true.
They throw the dean names out. Like,
I know,
like you're supposed to know.
Who they are.
And I'm going through the card image gallery, like flipping between them, like, who the fuck is this person they're talking about? Do I actually
And then
know who
they
they are?
They
Yeah.
mentioned like 8 out of the 10 deans, so 2 of them just like don't show up.
Anyway, that's like a side note. That's so weird. But we have a very important thing happens in the Mage Tower match, and it is also a story spotlight card.
Yeah. A mascot gets intercepted.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's the story.
I know.
That's really
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And apparently Quint is like, I can't believe they did that. How did they do that? If you've watched football, interceptions happen a lot.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's not like that was you changed the game. No one has thought about that before. And this is how Quint kind of talks about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't believe they got away with that. Apparently, they did some sort of mind control on the mascot so that it would hate. Oh, we should go back. What's Mage Tower? We should talk about Mage Tower.
I thought we were talking about Quidditch.
Yeah, so they're actually super different games. But basically, Mage Tower is capture the flag. All right, there we go.
It's capture the flag with like your the opponent's mascot or your mascot or how
You're trying to steal your opponent's mascot and bring it to your side.
Right. Okay.
And I think that their mascots are on top of towers.
So
Also
wouldn't a
noted.
mascot interception be what you like literally have to do? Is control the other team's mascot?
That does make sense. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what that means.
Because Quint was acting like they landed a successful onside kick, you know? Like,
Yeah. Also, in the art, it looks like it's a pest. It doesn't look like it's a inkling or anything. Because
No, it's definitely a pest in the art.
yeah, because we know each school has their own summon spell, and they all have their own mascots, and those are the ones that they
I'm just thinking,
use
if
and
you,
everything.
if you have to play against Quandrix, there's just a big ass fractal,
Or a tiny
like a-
fractal.
or like a fire elemental for
Yeah. How do you
Prismari.
pick up that thing?
Well, this is bullshit.
That's why Witherbloom loses all the time, because they just have this little slug thing.
Yeah, it can't even move.
Yeah, they just like pick up. Oh, I got it, and then you have to run it back to your tower, and you're like, all right,
Prismari's elemental
Dunk.
is just punching people who come near.
yeah. I don't really know. Anyway, for some reason, intercepting the mascot has never been done before. I guess
This was a big play.
it was a big play. Yes, it's just like the
This
card.
is the
big
first
play.
time a Hail Mary landed or something.
Or whatever. So Quint freaks out about it. And then while that's kind of happening, Will and Rowan get in a fight again.
Yeah, it's worth noting, I think, pretty important, that Will and Rowan aren't on speaking terms.
Oh,
before
yes.
this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
they weren't
some
even, like,
some time has passed since then. They also room together. So they're not on speaking terms, but they are in the same room.
yeah. You know, I've known people like that, though. It's like, I haven't
Yeah.
spoken to him in 3 weeks. It's like, it's your roommate, man.
I mean, that does make sense. It's weird when it's your sister. It's also weird that Will was like really pissed off that Rowan. There's some exam that Rowan didn't study for that much, but she still passed it.
She
And Will,
passed, but, like, not well enough for Will's taste.
so it wasn't like, hey, your grades are tanking. It was like, hey, you're not applying yourself enough. But she's like,
Yeah.
I passed the stupid class and the test or whatever. Why are you bitching at me? And Will's like, you need to be in the library with me all the time. And she's like, fuck you. I'm going to go have fun. I'm really...
She's like, D for diploma, baby.
Yeah, I'm basically against Will most of the story. I'm like, you're boring as fuck. Rowan's awesome. I don't like this. Anyway, they get in another fight, and it becomes much more intense, where like they're freezing and lightning each other and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it has...
And it draws the ire of a certain professor.
Yes. Which... Well, it's Professor Onyx. I don't know how to get into that, but...
Yeah, I was trying to set you up there, and then I was like,
I don't know if I have anything. Anyway, so Professor Onyx comes, picks them up, and she decides that she's going to be like their mentor, kind of, and brings them to her office and just gives them a professor's warning, like the story spotlight card.
Yeah, she's sort of like, why are you guys fighting? And then she's like, whatever. Anyway, so there's the Auric, and they're going to be a problem, guys.
Yeah. Also, Will thinks it's really exciting that he finds out that she's a planeswalker because she mentions the plane. And he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
she says something
cool.
about this plane.
And it's noted that Will realizes Rowan didn't pick it up because she's not as smart as him or something.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it's told through his eyes.
Classic Will.
Typical Will.
And then immediately after this, they go to the library so we can have the story spotlight card practical research. And then immediately Rowan gets up and leaves and just like does her own shit. And they're like, whatever, we don't need to be around each other anymore.
Yeah, but she basically warns them about the orc. She says, we're not the only ones who practice magic on this plane or something. And that's the tip off that we were talking about.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then Will's like, Rowan, there's like enemies on this plane. Let's go to the library. And she says, no, I'm going to go hang out with my friend.
Yeah. Or like practice dueling so when I meet them, I can fight them. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think she makes a lot more sense to me most of the time, but whatever. We'll get to that part. Jump forward, we see Kazmina is like looking through her owls like she does.
Classic
and
Kazmina.
Then she's watching Luca because she's like, this guy's sketchy. And he just like does the full turns, looks right at the owl in the eyes, and looks into her soul, basically. And she's like, whoa, fuck, that's creepy.
Damn.
It's like you're committing a crime and you look at the security camera, like right at them.
Sup? I thought it was Extus that did that. Was it Luca?
I think it was Luca.
Power move either way.
So Rowan's hanging out with her Witherbloom friends, and one of her friends tips her off saying, there's like a lot of these like kind of thrown in little foreshadowing things. And her Witherbloom friend is like making a potion with a pest or whatever, and she's just talking about how some sacrifices are necessary for the greater good, which we will see some more sacrifices for the greater good in the future as well. And you're like, oh, sweet, okay, check, got it, that's good, thank you. And then I just have in my notes, Will and Rowan fight again about something. Right. I don't even know what it is, but it happes for a reason.
And I guess just your note about foreshadowing, and this might be giving too much away, so we'll just cut this out if we decide that's true. But I realized we didn't mention it. When Quint is freaking out about the mascot interception, he points out that it only works on summoned creatures, this spell, to take control of them.
Right. So basically the interception was they took control of the mascot, had it fight against its owner, and then kind of jumped over to the other person.
Not saying that's important or anything. I just
it's totally not important at all.
Exactly what Quint said, because it's important Quint's exact words.
Yeah, because Quint is probably the most interesting character, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 reminded me of like because I haven't mentioned Harry Potter in too long. You know, it's like book 5 of Harry Potter, where it's like, man, this is a lot of whining. This is like
it's so much whining.
You know how the first 9 chapters of that book are Harry like wondering if his friends hate him now and have abandoned him? And
because he's having
all that teen angst. That's just Will. Will is like that all the time.
It's like that, but we don't have to listen to Will's dreams also. Right. So I think it's a little bit better. Also, like this chapter ends with Kazmina like seeing Luca in the school, and then they just fucking go at it. They start fighting.
Oh yeah, it's time.
Yeah. You could see this on the card Test of Talents that is not a spotlight card.
Correct.
I don't know why it isn't, but it seemed pretty important to the story, but it wasn't. So Luca's in the school attacking Kazmina, and then while they're like fighting,
beats him pretty easily.
Yeah, it's not like a fair fight. It just seems like she's like, dude, I'm gonna totally take over this whole thing.
And he even says like, well, I mean.
So he says, oh, you know, I didn't need to defeat you. I just needed to distract you long enough. And then as he says that, mage hunters just invade Strixhaven.
Yeah, so there are these things called mage hunters, guys.
Yeah. Did you know that? That's what. Yeah.
So there was some like reference to them earlier where Luca looked at a stalactite or stalagmite. I always forget which one hangs from the ceiling, which one hangs from the floor. But it's like, oh, it's a creature. I feel like I recognize that. That's all we got about the presence of mage hunters.
Yeah.
And it turns out there are these like big bugs that have like, I don't know, they may have mage resistant armor, or they seek
No,
out
they seek out
magic
mages.
wielders
Yeah.
to try to like suck their power or something.
They just like look for magic and then like kill it, basically.
right.
Well, they hunt mages. That's basically what they do. Yeah.
Right. But like I was wondering what makes them good at that. Like why are they particularly effective against mages, or is it just that
No.
like, that's
It never says that they're good mage hunters. It just says that they are mage hunters.
I see.
So they are hunting mages.
But then, like, if they hunt mages already, couldn't you just get them to Strixhaven and let them loose? Why do you... So anyways, we realized that Luca's part in the plan of Extus was because he can control animals, he needs to control all these mage hunters to attack Strixhaven.
Yeah.
So he and Casmina realizes this too. Somehow, for some reason, Luca had to fight Casmina for like 30 seconds.
I don't know
Because
why.
if she noticed the mage hunters, like...
She would have stopped
I
it?
don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, she's like, crap, and fucking dips.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole story. She's like, oh, shit. I'm out. I bounce. So she just planes walks away.
Fuck this.
She just planes walks away. She's like, fuck
She
this.
just leaves the plane.
So this makes me really concerned or just confused. Who the fuck is Casmina? Who is this person? She like, okay, so we see her in War of the Spark. We don't know who she is. We're like, oh, sweet. It'll be so cool to see where she's from. Apparently she's not from Strixhaven because she's not a teacher. She doesn't seem to be a student. She knows about it and she recruits people.
Seems to be allowed there.
Yeah, she like...
She's a recruiter. Yeah,
she's a recruiter for Strixhaven. That's what she does. And whenever there's trouble, she's like, peace, and then just dips.
Fuck this. Yeah, so she brought Will and Rowan there and then was like, okay, have fun. I have more important things to do, which apparently were to send her owls around spying on stuff.
Yeah.
And then when she scouts out the problem, she just leaves.
She just leaves. It was hilarious, but I don't know what does she do? I don't.
But she's so powerful that Luca was defeated easily by her, but
Yeah.
also felt the need to distract her.
Because it's also good to know, like, Luca can't fight super well. It seems
Because he's controlling like hundreds of mages.
Well, that's one big part of it. I also think that he's just like needs a buddy to get him out of trouble all the time.
Right. Yeah. He relies on his, animal
Friends.
slaves.
Yeah, slaves, whatever. His Pokemon.
Right.
So we get to have a nice cliffhanger into episode 4.
Yeah. But that's like Casmina's part of the story was to bring them there, tell the story through her eyes a couple of times because of her owls, and then just leave at the first sign of trouble.
And just is gone forever.
That's it.
It's so weird. Anyway, episode 4 is put to the test. It's an invasion. Oh my gosh. The mage hunters are coming out, and so that is...
They're everywhere.
That is signified by the story spotlight card, Mage Hunter's Onslaught, which you could probably guess.
The one thing, too, is Luca kind of explains, right, at the end of Chapter 3, why he's doing this to Casmina, or do we find out his motivations later?
I don't really remember. What are his motivations?
His reasoning was that if there was this band of Auric that people were afraid of, then it's because Strixhaven are being dicks and like are too elitist, and so he's gonna join them and fucking destroy all of Strixhaven.
Yeah,
That's it. That
it.
was all it took. He got attacked by some random villagers, and he was like, yo, this, through a weird chain of logic, is Strixhaven's fault, and I'm going to burn that fucking place to the ground.
Yeah, and that's basically what they're trying to do.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, anyway, Rowan and Will are fighting off the mage hunters by the Biblioplex and, doing what they can. Liliana is also fighting with some of the other deans. And then they eventually somehow realize that Luca's controlling all of them. And then once again...
Because he's like standing there at some point.
Yeah.
She's like, it's him.
Must be him. And this is all kind of represented in the story spotlight card, Defend the Campus, obviously.
Yeah, I got that from the card.
Throughout all of this, we also have someone saying once again, there's always a spell. We're like, okay, one of the deans says it or something. Oh, so there must be a spell.
Yeah.
What are the spells that we've heard about in this? Well, only one. So, So basically, Liliana tries to, like, she realizes that the attack is actually a decoy, and she takes Will and Rowan, and they're going to go find the real baddies, essentially.
Right. So she was like, that guy's controlling all of them because I see him, and he's in a red hoodie. And
he looks just like an Auric.
He must be controlling all of them. But why? It makes no sense. Unless it's supposed to make no sense, because it's a decoy.
Yeah.
She's very wise. She's very
She
old,
is.
so.
Yeah, she is. So
She's seen this all. She's seen it all before.
I guess. And so she decides to take them into these tunnels. It's like an access tunnel, which is a card in the
that
set.
she discovered as a student.
Yes. So it's like her showing them her Marauder's map, kind of.
Yeah.
Hey, Harry Potter again. And while this is kind of happening, a big thing happens. The dragons come for about 2 lines in the whole story.
I think, there's a mention of fire here and there.
Yes. So basically, this is the story spotlight card, Draconic Intervention. And apparently all the dragons came and started burning up mage hunters. But didn't really seem to do very much because we don't really talk
Like
about
almost incinerating their own students a few times.
Yeah, basically. But they don't, it's just kind of like, oh, cool. So the dragons made the school and then dipped because they were bored, gave all the power to the deans, and then come back and just burn it or try to defend it. I guess it's kind of nice, you know. They're like, hey, let's just defend the school.
Feels like they could have easily wiped everything out. But.
Yeah. Anyway, it's very short, very small part that you could easily just not even notice it was there.
Yeah, but none of them are mentioned by name as doing anything
absolutely
in particular. Not. There's just like fire coming from the sky.
So, yeah, and
so that's why I was saying like the chat with Bellatrix Witherbloom is the only role they actually play in the story. Because also this doesn't matter because it's a decoy. Yeah,
so it's like great. Thanks for flaming some of those things. Oh, for some reason Liliana figures out this is the decoy. The plan is that the Auric are going to go to the Biblioplex because that's where all the mage hunters are kind of trying to protect, I guess, or get people away from. And Extus is going to do something there.
Right. Now, I'd like to jump in here because at this point I was just like, it's so interesting reading a story when you've seen the cards. Because I know what Extus is trying to do, kind of. Like, I know... Well, if you guys don't want to know, by the way, and you have an Extus Auric Overlord in front of you, don't flip it over.
Don't flip it over.
Yeah, don't flip it over. But it's just so weird because I was like, I wonder if he's going to be doing that. I guess it must be. I don't know what that means really, but
yeah. Anyway,
so it's just kind of interesting because at certain points you like know it fills in. Sometimes the story fills in the cards for you, and sometimes the cards fill in the story for you.
Yeah. There were times where I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice, but there were other times where I'm like, why was this card a story spotlight and this card wasn't a story spotlight?
For sure.
Or why wasn't there a card made for this story spotlight? Anyway, it turns out the Hall of Oracles, which is a land from the set, is like underneath the Biblioplex, and it's on top of a snarl. And a snarl.
Right. How is this like the Strixhaven snarl? And I thought there were 5 snarls.
I also thought there were 5 snarls. So basically, Arcavios is like made. Snarl, there's 5 snarls that birthed the dragons. And so each dragon represents one of the snarls because they're all the colors of those dragons. Those dragons made Strixhaven, which happened to also have a snarl underneath it, which is just like a place of lots of magic of the plane.
Yeah,
it's like Nissa's
the most
favorite
powerful
thing.
Snarl, I guess.
I don't know. Apparently, there's a snarl there, and apparently it's the most important one because they have to have their thing happen at this snarl and not one of the other snarls. I don't really know, but that's what happens.
Go to this mysterious snarl.
Yeah, and then like all the Auric are attacking them and trying to use magic or whatever, and they like Will and Rowan barely survive and get into the Hall of the Oracles. But kind of as that's happening, Extus has already summoned the Blood Avatar.
Oof. You mean his plan was to awaken the Blood Avatar?
His plan was to awaken the Blood Avatar.
Oh my god, I could have seen that coming.
I did not know Extus was going to awaken the Blood Avatar.
Wow.
It was crazy. Just nuts.
Which is just a big ass blood elemental, for lack of
it's got a huge
better term.
It's got a huge axe.
4 arms and an axe and swords and
yeah. So anyway, into our last episode, final exam.
So that's quite a cliffhanger there.
It
They
is.
Run in and he's doing some shit.
Yeah, but when we're getting into this next bit, it is interesting because the story over and over again talks about how much blood is everywhere. On the ground, on the walls, they're stepping in it. You can't tell whose blood is whose blood or all that because, blood avatar.
So blood is like siphoning into this big blood elemental, presumably. I don't know where it's coming from.
This snarl / all the mage hunters dying / the students.
All the blood from the battle outside.
Maybe the students are
like siphoning
into the
this
ground?
one central point.
I don't know. That's not really explained. But if you look at any of the cards, there's no blood on the ground anywhere.
In any of the spotlights cards.
It's just
That's true.
it's just so strange. It's like there's a lot of points where like somebody falls down and we're like, oh, are they dead? Is that their blood? And we just don't know because everyone's covered in blood. I was just like surprised. I was like, oh, okay, there's blood everywhere. That's cool. They're fighting and doing stuff. Throughout this, there's a point where Liliana is like, hey, I'm going to fight Extus because I'm the grown-up with these 2 children. I should probably do this. And Extus is like, bye. And then he just bounces her back to her opponent's hand.
He unsummons her for sure.
She gets like what is it?
He like teleports her across to the other end of the plane, basically.
But it felt like a bounce spell. It was just like, oh, boom. All right, and she's like...
It's like, well, I'm going to get to this fight too late.
Yeah, I'm going to walk for a really long time. So she's gone. All right, so now it's just Will and Rowan, Blood Avatar, Extus.
Yeah, and I want to, I know you're thinking, oh, no, she put up more of a fight than that. Like, they're not doing it justice. No.
Nope.
he just teleports her away. And she's like, shit, I didn't see that coming because it's not considered an aggressive magic or whatever. Like, I didn't sense him targeting me with a kill spell.
He just brought some really sweet tech that she wasn't expecting to the tournament.
This was she had hexproof or something ready, and this was target opponent returns the non-land permanent with the greatest mana value they control to its owner's hand. And they're like, fuck,
I didn't see that one coming. That's basically what happened. And so she's just out of the game. We're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so now it's just these kids against this
Blood Avatar / its first years against guy who it's unclear how far he actually made it, but he made it far enough to request a pretty high honor, I suppose. He felt comfortable doing that. And then when they rejected him, he was like, I'm gonna show you one day, you'll see. I'll destroy this entire campus because you didn't promote me.
Yeah, it's like, just be a farmer, man. They're having a lot more fun. Come on, dude. Yeah, I think throughout all the dragons coming and flaming things, Luca's like, peace, guys, I'm done now.
Once the tide started to turn. So that's true. The dragons did kind of turn the tide of that fight. And then Luca just kind of well, all right, and just let the mage hunters go. And then the mage hunters were attacking the auric because they were the closest magic source. Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. But apparently, eventually, Luca gets away with some of the auric. While Rowan is looking at Extus, she's like, shit, I got to do something about this. And I saw that blood avatar get kind of summoned around the snarl. So what if I steal the magic from the snarl and start to use it on Extus? Which brings us to Crackle with Power. Makes sense. Right. She's floating.
Which is another foreshadowing point we kind of missed, but there's an earlier scene where she steals the energy from an elemental that happens to be in the library or something.
Oh,
so she knows how to do that.
Yeah. Because she just sucks energy out of people. Like Will, I guess.
She sucks the life out of people.
Kinda, yeah. In that story. Anyway, so she's doing some cool stuff against oh no, what she did, she floats in the air. This isn't on the card. Yeah. And then she breathes in and just fucking breathes fire on Extus. That was awesome. That's not on the
Yeah.
card. Why isn't Crackle with Power like her with a flame mouth? It's like, also, she does flames now? I thought she was just electricity. I was a little confused, but I was like, I'm about it.
Awesome.
It seemed pretty sweet.
Still awesome.
Pretty sweet.
Whatever. She like soaks up all this energy from this, the most powerful magic source on the entire plane.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much for her to handle, but she still does it anyways. Just like blasts it all at X's. So I'm thinking she chose X equals 1 because there's only one target.
And then she gets exhausted and kind of just like falls to the ground. I was like, whoops. That was a
she
lot.
tries to like keep going and it becomes too much for her. And
Yeah.
then X just laughs at her.
Yeah, he gets like smacked into the wall from the fire, and it was like, oh, that's fine. I'm chill. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, even realistically though, if she chose X equals 1, that's 5 damage, and he's a 2/4. So I don't know what happened there, but
He
should be dead.
He should be dead. Anyway, so she's kind of on the ground, and then Will is also on the ground from something else, and like crawls over to her to like see if she's okay. And then he like whispers his idea in her ear. Not really, but he kind of just like tells her, "Hey, I have a plan. Are you guys ready for the plan?" It's a pretty good one. We've been working up to this one because there is always a spell.
It's always a spell.
And to use the spell, you need to have the culmination of all of your studies, which is the story spotlight. Will decides to mascot interception the blood avatar.
Yes, which he knows will work because it's a summoned creature.
Whoa.
It's a summoned being.
Quint, you're so smart. Thanks so much for all of that stuff before.
Thanks, Quint, for geeking out about a totally normal play in this game.
Yeah. What I do love about this is that playing mascot interception on a blood avatar is actually pretty sweet.
I was thinking about that when it happened, when this came up, and I was like, yeah, as someone who's played a lot of Awaken the Blood Avatar, that would hurt a lot.
That would hurt a
Somebody
lot.
for some reason had mascot interception.
Yeah. So I really like, this is a great flavor one with the cards, and I think they did
It's
a
like
really
8
good job of
damage
that.
coming at you.
Yeah. Because you're like, oh, we want a blood avatar. Let's make it a... For the story, it has to be a token, and then, we can have this sweet interception spell that intercepts tokens. It's great.
Yeah, that was cool.
I agree. I was really happy by that.
Yeah.
You obviously you knew it was going to happen the whole time, but over a couple stories, I'm like, sweet. What happens after this? Oh, because they intercepted the blood avatar, he grabs Exodus and then
just crunches him. Just in one hand.
Yeah.
And then retreats into the snarl.
Mm-hmm.
They just like make him go back into the snarl.
Yeah, but he kind of like Rowan falls limp again because like there's too much magic going on, too much power. And as Will is also, I guess, on the ground. I don't exactly know how this happened, but this is a really
he got smacked around earlier.
He did.
I think it was by Exodus.
Yeah. Some point in the story, but
or maybe it was the blood avatar. I don't remember.
As the blood avatar is going back into the snarl, buckle your seatbelts, people, because something happens. It's really big.
Actually, this is like the only important part.
This is the most. If you haven't cared about the rest of this podcast or the story or anything, this is the most important thing that you should know that happens in this, because you don't know that this happens because of the cards.
Right.
The blood avatar cuts off Will's right leg.
Yes. As he's like leaving, he just slams down his sword. I think it says he hits a big boulder or something that crushes Will's leg. Or does he actually cut
No,
it
he
off?
cut... I think his blade is sliding on the ground, and Will's in the way.
Carves right through his
and it just slices right through his leg.
But he pushes Rowan out of it, because Rowan can't move. Will jumps over, pushes Rowan out of the way, but the sword gets his leg.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah. You're right. So it does make Will look like
to give Will
hero.
some credit.
Yeah, some credit.
Story.
I mean, he has credit. He does know the spell to save them, but obviously Rowan's the more powerful
Quint
one.
would have came up with it sooner.
Quint would have. Yeah, that's very true. But what the fuck? Why is that not a card? Why is that on anything? Why isn't that like Lash of Malice or any sweet common for draft or anything? Is just like Will's leg's gone or something. Like, I don't know. Like, what? Why didn't they put that on a red burn spell or anything? That's huge.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to
Now
stop.
people are just going to be like wondering the next time Will shows up, he's going to have an ice leg
Yeah.
from the knee down.
So
'cause they're gonna
basically,
be like, why?
yeah. So basically, what happens is like after that, Will's like bleeding out. Duh, his leg's fucking gone, but they can't tell where the blood is because there's still blood everywhere.
Apparently.
Rowan is also kind of passed out, but she tries to crawl over. She like wakes up, crawls over towards Will, and then luckily Dean's Nasari and Lisette come. They just know that they're there, and then kind of like pick them up and take them out as the whole place is crumbling down. Sweet, thanks, Deans. You did something.
Which is like the red Prismari Dean and the green Witherbloom Dean, right?
Yes, I believe so. And then we jump 5 weeks in the future. And as you said, do you want to talk about Will's leg?
Yeah, so I guess they offer him like a replacement, like living leg. One of the
It's like a,
wither. I think
it's like a tree. I thought it was like a tree or something. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna like grow him. They're gonna plant a new leg for him, and it'll grow into the bottom of his leg. And he says no. And so now he is forging his own leg out of ice, and regularly maintaining it with his ice magic.
So it's like a combination between like ice and steel. So he has like the steel like structure. It's kind of like his bones. So he has like a steel bones.
Right. Yeah.
And then he just makes ice around it, and he
freezes around that kind of structure they've plugged into his stone.
Kind of all the time, which reminds me a lot of Tezzeret. I'm like,
right.
oh, so you have like a Tezzeret leg? Okay. Again, what the fuck? That was crazy. I can't believe it's just such a, I guess it's like a fun thing. If you read the stories, you know that his leg's gone, but if you play the game, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And just
like, why the fuck does Will have a frozen leg
in the next set? Yeah, it's just going to be like, what happened? Yeah, and then there's some nice things. Will has a cane that he also walks with. That's made of wood, and Quint actually put in some runes into the cane that are like stability and strength or something to make him feel better. So that feels nice that Quint and him are like good friends or whatever.
And they're like legends around the school now.
Oh yeah, everyone thinks they're.
Because everyone heard of them defeating this blood avatar and whatnot.
Everyone's whispering, "That's Harry Potter. That's Harry Potter," basically. And then Will and Rowan finally suck it up, and they hug it out and say "I love you" to each other.
Yeah, and Rowan's like, "All right, so you ready to leave?" Will's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, we just defeated the blood avatar. What more could they possibly teach us here?" And then he's like, "If anything, we learned that our magic isn't good enough."
Yeah, it was kind of like we defeated the blood avatar, but Will's like, oh, but how did we defeat it? But a spell that we learned here, we should continue learning so we can defeat everything. And Rowan is still like, whatever, you can do that. I'm going to do my thing. But at least they're like, that's fine. Hey, it's cool to be whatever you want to be. If you're the brother, I guess, who goes to the library, looks up everything, that's awesome. You're going to need the really powerful one to come in and help you cast the spell correctly.
Yeah.
I'm still on Rowan's side for most everything, so.
Will's the Hermione.
Yeah, he's basically the
Rowan's
Hermione.
the Harry Potter.
Yeah. And then Luca is now wandering around again with the Auric who are left after everything. So I guess he's their new leader because Exodus is dead. And then Liliana, once again, goes on a fucking adventure by herself, trying to figure out how to bring Gideon back, but then decides, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then she walks into her class and says, welcome to the introduction of necromantic arts. I'm Liliana Vess.
Yeah, so you're made to understand that she's just going to accept her life as a professor here, at least for a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. And she's
going to lay down some deeper roots and just actually be a professor here instead of kind of frauding everyone's tuition and being a fake professor while she tries to search out this other goal.
Yeah. And now she's using her real name. Good job. Yep. Which apparently has been a long time coming.
Yeah, well, you always teach your first few years under a fake name so that Rate My Profs, all the reviews are under.
Yeah, under that one instead.
Right. Once you've once you start getting the 5.0s, then now I'll open under my real name.
So as far as like magic implications, I guess, it kind of feels like that's where we're going to leave Liliana for a while, right?
Yeah, like I have nothing against Liliana, but she appears often, at least, and especially over the last little while. It just feels like there's so many Liliana cards that have come out in a flurry over the past few years. So totally okay if there's just another black planeswalker that plays that role for a little bit of time.
So yeah, she's going to be at Strixhaven.
More Davriel or something.
Yeah.
Learn more about him.
I'm totally good with that. So it kind of feels like her ending a little bit, which is good. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see her again. There's no way they're just going to be like, never again.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
She's too popular a character.
Maybe she'll eventually sacrifice herself for someone and continue that trend. Whenever we go back to Strixhaven or Arcavios or whatever and deal with that. But anyway, that was the main story of Strixhaven. Whew. That took a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah. And if you're wondering why we didn't do a good job explaining a lot of the motivations behind the character's actions, we explained everything that was there.
We did. We did explain as much as we could. It's, yeah.
Extus really was just whiny over not getting, the job he applied for and decided to spend years of his life searching out the perfect spell to obliterate the school.
Yes. There are some side stories that also come out. I read all of them. Some of them seem to be kind of helpful to the main story. Obviously, they're just little fun things. They're all about the uncommon legendary cycle. Go check them out if you're interested. But that was where I was. The one thing I want to point out is that the story spotlight cards for this set had a certain expectation, I guess. I was assuming they were going to be on the main story. And mainly the Tempted by Auric, the Killian one, it just seemed really compelling. Like that story spotlight card was one of the big ones. I was like, oh, sick. This is going to be a big part, a pivotal moment in the story. But Killian is not in the main story, really. And that...
I mean, he loses a game.
Yeah, so Killian turns out to be the student who is getting their mascot intercepted during that bit. And it was just one of those things that is just kind of surprising. It's like, sweet, that's a whole card that is just not anywhere in the story. While I thought Will getting his leg gone would have been a really great card.
Now, I'm looking at them now, and I've only read like 2 of the 5 side stories. So I'm seeing here that Rise of Extus is a story spotlight card.
Yeah, so apparently...
That must be from the side stories? Or
no, that's just...
That's not a part of the main story. He's already in power when we
That's just like... that happened at some point.
I see.
We don't really know much about
I mean, we know it was with one lethal strike.
Yeah.
He took control of the
So I like the story spotlight cards. I just think these ones there were some good ones and some like, why? Why is this important? I don't understand why you decided to make this a story spot, or even other cards that are like, this is a card in the set, Hall of Oracles. That's a place that all the shit happens at the end.
Right.
That's not a story spotlight card? Okay. Well,
and there's also like practical research, and it's just Will and Rowan in the library reading books.
That was literally like a second. It was a second of Rowan's like, I'm just going to leave. And it looks like they're, like, when you look at the card, it's like, oh, they're having lots of fun. They're learning things at Strixhaven together. They hate each other.
Extus.
They hate each other the whole time. So it's like, it just, the cards always paint a different picture than the story. So that's why it's kind of fun to read the story. I personally would love if they got closer and closer. These are not as egregious as some in the past, which have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? That is not even close to anything that happened. But I do like when really important moments happen. Like, I would love if the Kaldheim cards said something about Asika dying at the end. But I guess that's also like a cliffhanger or whatever. So
Yeah, like they don't want to spoil the ending, I guess.
so there's that weird thing. I don't want to go into a huge rant because this is getting kind of a longer episode, but when they haven't done the story spotlight cards for very long. It's since Kaladesh, and as far as like them printing it on the cards, but back when original Theros happened, Elspeth dies in that set, and it's told in the story, but there's just an immense amount of people who had no idea that happened because it just isn't depicted on the cards. And Wizards was saying, we don't want to spoil the story in the cards. However, there's just a huge chunk of people that just never read the story. So then they had changed their approach, and they decided they were going to start making cards that depicted scenes that happen in the story, which I think I like it. I think that's a good thing. It makes you feel a little bit more connected with the characters, possibly. So I'm happy that they do it, and I like that they're around. However, this one seemed like the last two sets have been ramping up a lot of story spotlight cards.
Yeah, there's a lot more than there was in the past.
Yeah.
Like it used to be 5, right?
Yeah, there were just like a couple.
5 story spotlight.
And then like the most was in War of the Spark or something, because obviously
there's a whole novel.
Yeah. So they're trying to, and those cards don't even reflect what happens in the book. So,
please tell me Niv Mizzet actually gets reborn.
Yeah, for a second, and then dies again. And then apparently gets resurrected as a robot in the comic book. So
well, there you go.
Anyway, that's the fucking story. Oh man,
that's great. Never change magic story.
Never
change.
Except for change, maybe a little bit. Maybe
it would actually, you know what? Change though.
Change.
Now that I think about it.
But we do love reading your story and trying to tell people about it while kind of drunk. I had a few drinks before we started this. I don't know if we talked about that earlier. I had a few drinks before we started this episode, so we're extra.
You should have let me know. I would have had a couple as well.
All right.
Now I'm going to sound like an idiot as the more sober of the two.
Oh man. Anyway, I heard that it's last call, and I'm gonna grab my last beer for the night.
Let's do it.
Are you ready for the big reveal?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds about right.
That makes sense to me.
We picked our own beers. So I'm Henderson's Best and your Roman Candle.
So what do you want to start with?
It doesn't matter to me.
All right. Let's start with Roman Candle.
Okay.
Since I can remind myself what it tastes like in a second.
Right. It is so interesting that you if you pick the one from the beginning, you have to kind of taste it again to be like, did I actually want to pick this?
Yeah. And I feel like the order that you happen to drink them in does affect it depending on the beers too. Some beers are like you want to start with this beer.
Yeah.
And some beers are you want to have a beer, you want it to be your second.
Exactly. So Roman Candle. First off, while you're sipping, I think they're both great beers. I love them both dearly.
Yeah, I think so too. Like they're both kind of classics of the Toronto beer scene for a reason. Yeah, so Roman Candle is just kind of a quintessential IPA for me.
Yeah.
There's nothing fancy going on here, or at least not that I can detect.
I don't think so.
It's 6.8%, so it's a little on the higher side for just a regular IPA, but not out of bounds, And it kind of to me it kind of looks like it's very opaque. So it kind of has that haziness and light yellow kind of color to it. So to me it reminds me more of a East Coast style IPA than a West Coast, but I don't know if there's anything deliberate in that because I'm looking at the can and there's just no real information about it. I don't know what.
No.
It just says IPA 6.8%.
That's exactly what it is in my mind.
Yeah, it's just good. It's just a good version of that. So if that's a kind of beer that you're into, this one is a good version. I
think it's a pretty great version. I think I wasn't huge on IPAs moving to Toronto, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. And this was one of them that I was like, this is really great. This feels solid. it's not doing too many funky things. It's not over hopped or anything. It's not trying to be anything else. It just feels very. This is what it is.
That's a good point. It's not hoppy. It's not really hoppy actually.
Yeah.
Like when you think of IPA, you think of super hoppy beer, and this has kind of a regular amount of hops.
Yeah. So yeah, what would you give the Roman Candle?
I think I'd give this a diamond. I think my one knock against it, honestly, if there's anything bad to say about this beer, it's just that it's expensive.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know if there are some great IPAs, and this one is kind of twice the price of anything else. So the reason I don't buy it off, that's the reason I don't buy it off.
Yeah.
Is because it is, I don't know if it's enough better to merit the price tag. Yeah. But if we're just talking about the merits of the beer on its own without taking that into account, then I think it's a great beer.
Yeah, I think it's diamond as well. Definitely just super great. Would recommend to anyone, especially people who don't love IPAs. It's just like, this is solid. This is like great. Get out the gate. It's exactly what it is. It tastes good. You know, you're probably gonna like it.
And like people who don't like, you know, high percentage beer, maybe give it a try too. It depends why you're avoiding high percentage beer. Like if it's literally just because that's too much alcohol for you, then, you know, this isn't going to magically change that. Yeah. But if it's because you feel like you could taste the alcohol in high percentage beers, this one does a great job of balancing. Yeah. You don't really taste that. So.
You don't really taste that at all. It's delicious. I like the name. The only reason it wouldn't be Mythic really is because if I go to Bellwoods, I'm going to get a Jelly King. And
that's right, because Jelly King is better.
Jelly King's so good that if I go there, I'm coming for every type of Jelly King they have and some other random things.
I was thinking about this not too long ago, actually. And I'm like, I wonder what they would have to put as the flavors on the Jelly King for me to not be interested.
Yeah.
You know, it would have to be really out there. Like...
It'd have to be like honeydew and chocolate or something. And I'd be like, what?
Even, I think I might try that. It'd have to be weirder.
But let's go on to the Henderson's Best. So obviously I picked it, and obviously I rated that one really high, so I'm going to rate this one really high as well.
Right.
But I just think this is really great. I like it a lot. It was probably, the more I taste Henderson stuff, the more I realize that this is absolutely their best one.
They were correct in identifying.
Yes, they were absolutely correct saying this is Henderson's Best, because it really is. And they definitely chose a good style of beer to be, you know, be their best, because I don't know other ambers in this area that I like as much as this one. So
I have a soft spot for Henderson's Best just because often it's like the only amber ale you can get. Yeah. Because right now we're in that like craze of sour beer, and the IPA craze is just kind of dying down. We're into the sour beer craze. So everything is a sour, or everything is an IPA left over from the previous excitement about IPAs. And sometimes I just want an amber. You know, I just want a good, solid, malty amber ale. And it's hard to get that, but because Henderson's made such a name with Henderson's Best, this is kind of always available. And I like that about it.
Absolutely.
The fact that it's just a good, solid amber that I can get whenever I'm feeling like an amber.
It's great because this is the kind of, if you're not from this area, you basically have like the liquor store, but then you can also get beer from the grocery store. And this is one of the ones that will sometimes be in grocery stores. It's that like popular or well known. Which is great because some of the other ones are like not my favorite. So I'm like, sweet, I can always get a Henderson's Best there. That's awesome. So I'm still gonna rate this diamond, but I think it's great. I think they're both really awesome. Obviously, I came into this knowing that as well, but
these are not our first times trying either of these beers.
No.
I think for me it's platinum, but like a solid, good, like a good high platinum performing. Yeah. You know.
I could see that. I don't know if it's because I was working at, we used to have Henderson's Best on tap at the Drake that I worked at.
Ooh, I could see it being really
good. So I used to, I drink it there, but I'd also always tell people to drink it. And it was one of the first Toronto beers I might have tried because I came in being like, well, Fat Tire's my favorite, so I'm going to try an amber anywhere it is. And I was like, oh, this one's really good. So I was quick to being like, that's the beer that I like around here. Before I started exploring a lot of other things. So it probably might have a little bit of that nostalgia from just like 3-4 years ago that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's a good beer. So.
Yeah, I just don't drink it that much because if I'm going to drink an amber, I'm just going to grab a fat tire. But yeah, Jeff, with that, I think it's probably closing time.
Closing time.
Yeah. Do you have your guitar? Are you going to play the song for us this week?
Oh shoot, we talked about that, didn't we?
No. That'll be.
I did actually listen to the song, and I think I can play it.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure you could. It's
just like G, C, A, and D.
Yeah. We'll figure that out.
My guitar is in my bedroom. Julia's sleeping, I think. So.
Yeah. At some point, maybe if we ever have a Patreon, you can be a patron, and we'll play that song for you, so you can listen to it while you sleep in your bedroom. But as always, you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
You can look for us on MTG Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg, Zeulberg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BluesBrewsMTG.
Perfect. Also, we would always love to get a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify, Stitcher. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Any of those things. We'd love any sort of feedback or interaction. It's just nice. Hey, if you like the show, if you don't like the show, whatever. say what you got to say.
Let us hear it.
Exactly. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that when the going gets tough, be it like Kazmina and get the fuck out of there.
Good night. All right, that's fine.